Of Bourne, Massachusetts, and behind me is a dedication to Richard Bourne and his work with the Mashpee Indians. Now, Richard Bourne is our 10 times great-grandfather. He was born in 1609 in Devon, England, and in 1634 he came to America. He made his way to Plymouth, where he married Bathsheba Hallett. Hang on, there's a car. So in 1637 he was granted lands up in Sandwich, along with her other great-grandfathers, George Knott and James Skiff. Well, Richard was a Reverend, and he was very dedicated to converting the local Indians to Christianity. So he reached out, and they kind of thought he was kind of a bit of a witch doctor because he didn't seem to get sick like the other Indians. And they actually elected him as their own Reverend. So he taught them all about the Bible. And even though he spoke their local language, he always taught them in English, and they became very Christianized. So in, out here in 1637, the same year he came to Sandwich, he reached out to the Mashpee Indians of the Wampanoag Nation, and they established their first meeting house up on Burying Hill. The first meeting house of the Indians in Plymouth County, established by Richard Bourne in 1637. He was so successful in educating and Christianizing the Indians that 40 years later, in 1675, he had already educated and Christianized up to 500 Indians all around Sandwich. And when King Philip's War broke out in 1675, most of the towns around Plymouth and Mashpee and Yarmouth and Barnstable were inundated with Indian invasions. There's a lot of mosquitoes here, so you gotta excuse us. But anyway, because he had educated and Christianized those 500, they didn't revolt with Chief Matacomet, our King Philip. Instead, they sided with the people of Sandwich. They didn't fight, but they certainly didn't fight against us or for us. But certainly, if he hadn't educated those 500 Indians, the settlers of Plymouth Colony would have been completely decimated. So we owe our thanks to the Reverend Richard Bourne, our 10 times great-grandfather. Now, he had 2 sons. He had Shirjashub Bourne, and he had Elisha Bourne, and they married 2 sisters, Bethshua Skiff and Patience Skiff, and their grandchildren married each other. So it kind of comes into play that all things go around in the circle. But this is Richard Bourne, and the town of Bourne was named after one of his descendants. I believe his name was Thomas Bourne, or Jonathan Bourne, who was one of his great grandsons. Thank you very much.